Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regards to this item, I'm trying to read all this stuff, and I'm thinking that's the item in which the question of municipal consent is kind of the underlying theme there. And, you know, I will say this, that I've been concerned with regards to not having the SDEIS and not having a chance to review that before we make this decision. And, you know, how can I say this? Part of me feels like maybe that's a part of the law, but I mean, I haven't gotten a clear answer, and maybe I'd love to hear from our city attorney or somebody else as to whether that's a requirement. You know, I certainly understand that the last time we were here, I asked the question of, I believe it was Mr. Alexander, and he expressed, you know, his thoughts on it. But I mean, I think from our perspective as a city, I mean, it'd be nice to hear what we think of it. And you know, I think that, you know, a lot of folks in the community have brought these up and these questions up, and, you know, I don't know if it's delaying the inevitable, but I mean, I certainly would like to just, you know, get a sense of, you know, where we're at on that, just so that we can move together as a community with regards to this specific issue. So.
Thank you, Council Member. We do have the staff direction by Bender, Palmerstown, and Gordon. I will speak to that. You can review that, but since you asked for legal clarification from our city attorney, I will yield the floor.
Mr. Chair and Council Member Yang, the one thing that we do know is that there is a deadline for this council to vote on the issue of municipal consent. Whether or not environmental review is required prior to consent is an issue that may well ultimately be resolved by the courts.
And Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can clarify a bit why we brought forward the staff direction. I think, as the committee members all know, we cannot vote yes with conditions. We have to either vote yes or no on the complete package that is before us. And I share Councilmember Yang's concern and frustration with not having a completed SDEIS available to us before we vote, which I think is clearly at least the intent of the law, not being an attorney myself.
This is BobAgain. I'm talking with Council Member Kevin Reich, who's the chair of the Transportation Committee. That's right.
Okay.
Sorry
so
for the interruption. Here's a question. I just heard Council Member Yang ask for a legal opinion regarding whether this is legal, whether a draft environmental impact statement is required or not. And as I heard the city attorney, she was not willing to offer a legal opinion, but instead she said that this may go to court. I am frankly stunned by this, by the idea that the council would move forward on this and potentially allow significant millions of dollars of public money to be spent and to offer an invitation to the citizens of Minneapolis, so sue us. Can you think of an example prior to this where the city council has acted on something with an explicit request for a legal opinion as to whether it was legal, and without a legal opinion stating that it is legal?
I think the council to date has been that we can move forward in this parallel track with the DIS being developed and our approvals being before us, and this is just one component of the approvals. I think her comment in terms of wasn't so much as asking for it to be sued, the notion that there is, this is America, right? Anyone can sue for anything practically. And so if there is a question that some want to litigate, that question would be answered finally in the courts. That's just the American legal system.
But don't you think the unwillingness of the city attorney to even say, yes, we think this is legal, is a red flag?
I think she has said we are proceeding properly.
Well, that may be procedurally properly, but again, there is no legal opinion. But we've covered this issue. Let me ask you this: what do you think is the potential for spending money before a draft environmental impact statement shows up? How much money could be spent and bring us to a point where we found out the whole thing is illegal or unacceptable environmentally?
My understanding is now we're at maybe 15 to 20% design, and every project has a certain engineering design threshold, and then there are decisions that need to be made within those periods, 1 to 5%, 5 to 20%, etc. And so I believe if there were additional problems that would be preclusive of the project moving forward before 50% design, of which we're not even near, engineering design, that modifications would need to be made to address it, or more significant actions would have to be taken.
Can anything be done to put a cap on what would be spent before the draft environmental impact statement was issued?
I think there already is an allocated pre-development budget that would be appropriate for a pre-20% design, and that's, I think, the constrictions that they have right now.
Real
We
good.
certainly couldn't proceed much beyond what would be prescribed until they get to a 50, 75, and closer to a 90% design, engineering approved design worksheet.
Real good. Thank you for the answers. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.